you believe that a country capable of launching spacecraft to explore Mars is powerless to recover its own streets and residents? This isn't the story of a developing nation after a war, but of America in 2025, where there are neighborhoods that even the police refuse to enter. From dilapidated buildings in West Baltimore to trash-filled underground tunnels on the Las Vegas Strip or makeshift camps in the heart of Chicago. You can find people who were once laborers, veterans, single mothers, or the elderly. Now, they live surrounded by tents, trash vice, and despair, in the very country once called the Land of Dreams. In today's documentary, we'll take you through the 10 most dangerous slums in America, where the law is no longer a refuge and survival each day is a gamble. Because sometimes the most shocking truths about America aren't on the news, but behind the crumbling doors of forgotten neighborhoods. The Las Vegas Strip, once a destination for over 41 million visitors annually seeking a few days of opulent illusion, now embodies a bitter paradox. Just a few steps away from the glittering casinos, hundreds of people are sleeping rough under bridges amidst trash and desert heat. In a city where you can spend $10,000 in a single evening, there are also people who can't afford a $5 meal. And while people cheered for winning bets in the casino right outside, thousands were suffering the bitter fate of life. The irony is the biggest gamble in Vegas no longer happens in the casino. It's happening right outside, under bridges in abandoned parking lots where people who once had jobs and homes are now setting up makeshift tents made of tarps and wooden pallets. In Clark County, nearly 8,000 homeless individuals were recorded at the beginning of 2025. But the actual number is certainly higher, because no one can count all the people sleeping on sofas in broken down cars or in underground drainage ditches. The government is exhausted. Rental prices continue to escalate. The welfare fund is depleted. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Strip, once a symbol of order and entertainment, is witnessing the quiet invasion of a crisis. Homelessness is no longer a street-level image, but has stepped directly into the resort space. Tourists say they were asked for money right inside the casino. Some incidents escalated into dangerous situation. An explosion at the Paris casino caused $50,000 in damage caused by a homeless person. The problem is no longer just about economics. It's a crisis of the right to exist. A tourist from Miami shared that it's a disaster. I paid $43 for a burger, fries, and a drink in March. I will never come back here again. The glorious era of Las Vegas is completely over. Meanwhile, the middle class itself, once the most trusting of Vegas, is quietly retreating from the city. Those who used to retire and return here annually now feel unwelcome. It's not just because of unreasonable prices, like a winter pool use fee, even though the pool is closed, or an airline ticket printing fee of up to $15, but because of the feeling of being disregarded, deceived, and excluded. A simple meal can cost between $18 and $27 due to venue fees and service recovery fees. It's all written in faint print at the bottom of the bill, forcing customers to scrutinize every semicolon as if they were playing a detective game. Vegas used to be a place where you could live large even with a small budget. Today, a $10 slice of pizza, a $10 glass of water, and a $40 snack have replaced the $5.99 lobster dinners of the 90s. Those who were once hotel staff, housekeepers, shuttle bus drivers, now sleep rough in front of the very casinos they used to serve, wandering aimlessly across the gambling tables where they are sure to always be the losers. So in the end, what disappeared? A restaurant? A price? Or is it the feeling of belonging, without needing to prove your bank account, without having to put down a deposit of trust? And if that can disappear right in Vegas, how many other cities are shrinking just for those who can afford the price? Do you believe it? Right in the middle of Los Angeles, the capital of light cinema and red carpet premieres, lies a land less than 5 km² in area where thousands of people live crammed together amidst garbage tents and despair. Just a few hundred meters from the headquarters of Hollywood's top media companies, Skid Row is like an unhealed wound, festering, painful, and ignored. Skid Row has no gates, no signs, no clear boundaries. But anyone who lives in Los Angeles understands implicitly this is where Hollywood pushes the ugliest corners of a city that is cracking from within. A United Nations representative once called the area an unacceptable sight in a country as wealthy as the United States. And it's hard to argue with that obvious truth. Los Angeles has over 75,000 homeless people, most of whom are concentrated around Skid Row, where there are only 9 public restrooms serving thousands of people. There is not enough clean water available. There's no soap. Toilet paper has also become a luxury item. As a result, diseases that should only appear in war zones, hepatitis A/C, and even HIV, are silently spreading through a city that was once a paradise of American dreams. A middle-aged woman shared, "I don't remember the last time I felt hope in my life. I can't even find a way out to free myself." This situation becomes even more serious as urbanization happens at a rapid pace. Gentrification, the rapid wave of urbanization with new bars, boutique hotels, and luxury apartment sale signs, unintentionally makes the poor unsuitable for the area. Rental prices in LA have increased by 28% in 15 years, while real income has decreased by 8%. And although the city had previously committed to building 10,000 affordable homes with a budget of over $1.2 billion, many projects fell through due to opposition from the very communities with a not-in-my-backyard mentality. As long as the homeless didn't come near their living areas, Skid Row is not just a neighborhood, but a mirror reflecting a nation struggling to heal itself. If kindness, community responsibility, and the belief that everyone deserves a chance are gradually being forgotten what is keeping America afloat, there are no easy answers. But every time we pass through Skid Row, or any underground Skid Row emerging in other cities, we can't help but wonder, in our pursuit of growth and profit, have we forgotten that society is only truly strong when no one is left behind? If you've watched all 11 seasons of The Walking Dead and are still curious about what comes next, you don't need to look to movies anymore. Let's book a ticket to Philadelphia and stop in the Kensington neighborhood. Here, right in the heart of civilized America, you'll encounter silent figures moving as if they no longer belong to this world. Lifeless eyes, shaking hands. The blue tarpaulin tents huddled under the bridge. That sight wasn't a product of CGI or Hollywood. It's Kensington, a neighborhood less than 2 miles long, but it contains heartbreaking paradoxes about an America that is slipping away from its own dream. Once a center for the textile and mechanical industries, Kensington is now a living graveyard, where over a third of Philadelphia's homeless population gathers in an area with a poverty rate of up to 45%. The American dream is no longer present here. Just one slip, losing a job, getting divorced, getting sick, and people fall straight to the bottom with almost no way back. Do you know what's easiest to find in Kensington? Not bread, but rather zombie products. Products that can turn healthy people into zombies after just a few uses. Vice leads to crime. The rate of dangerous behavior in Kensington is over 275% higher than the national average. Residents here have a 1 in 12 chance of becoming victims of a serious incident. There are paths that even the local people avoid crossing, unless it's absolutely necessary. Even the police chose a negotiated solution over enforcement. The Philadelphia government has previously attempted encampment cleanup campaigns, combining community service teams, outreach workers, and sanitation crews. But the truth is, only about 75 people are permanently living in the cleared areas, while the majority are still floating, driven out of this neighborhood only to reappear in another. It's like a wound that's been temporarily bandaged, but is still infected from within. Freedom of choice in this context is sometimes just another way of being abandoned. Kensington, from the most brutal perspective, is the true face of a society when its weakest links are broken. And if a city like Philadelphia, once a symbol of democracy, can allow Kensington to exist, is where you live really safe? In a city where the average home price exceeds $500,000, where each self-driving car is worth more than a lifetime savings for a worker, can you imagine that just a few steps away, people are sleeping on the sidewalks and screaming into the void as if lost between two worlds? Welcome to the Tenderloin, a neighborhood in the heart of San Francisco, yet cut off from the rhythms of civilization. The Tenderloin is less than 1 square kilometer in area, yet it is home to thousands of homeless people, the mentally ill, and even families with young children. Data from 2024 shows that over 4,000 homeless people live around this area, with nearly a third of them being elderly or having had stable jobs in the past. What's remarkable is that this is also the area with the highest police presence in the city, but also the place where police intervene the least, because they know no one truly controls the Tenderloin, not even the government. Tenderloin is not just a landmark, it's a warning about the fragility of the safety net, where one slip could send you from the 20th floor to the sidewalk, both literally and figuratively. Once the working heart of the city, it is now labeled a no-go zone, an area not worth visiting. On average, there are over 1,000 medical emergency calls each month in the Tenderloin alone, and despite many community initiatives being introduced, most residents believe the city is just putting up a facade. If a wealthy city like San Francisco, the world's innovation hub, has to surrender to the homelessness problem, then is there anywhere that can turn the tide? If you've ever visited Seattle, the city of coffee technology and bridges spanning a cold river, you've probably driven past Interstate 5 without realizing that right beneath you lies a completely different world. The jungle, a name that sounds like a movie. But it's not a movie. It's a truly wild urban forest located beneath Interstate 5, stretching over 2 miles between Beacon Hill and downtown. No signs, no maps, no rules. There were only temporary tents, charcoal stoves, and people who had almost disappeared from the records of society. The government once admitted they don't know how many people actually live here. In some years, the estimated number reaches 400, 500 people. No house number, no household registration, no exit. In a city where Amazon, Microsoft, and Boeing are headquartered, where the average home price exceeds $850,000, the jungle is like a discordant note, but it's real. The jungle was cleared many times. The largest cleanup effort was in 2016, when the city of Seattle spent over $1 million to remove and collect more than 750 tons of waste, including thousands of syringes, broken electronics, and even animal carcasses. But just a few months later, the tent sprang up again. Just a few tarpaulins, some shade trees, and a moment away from the lights are enough for the forgotten to find something they can call shelter. If the generation that built a prosperous America now has to huddle in a plastic bag under a bridge, what will be left for future generations to believe in? Are we teaching our children and grandchildren that, in a modern society, human value can be replaced by a mere real estate number? Venice Beach was once a symbol of freedom art and unconventional living. A California-flavored paradise where people came to feel alive. But now, the beach that was once a sanctuary for surfing and yoga for fiery sunsets over the ocean has become a resting place for lost souls. Los Angeles. Residents still vividly remember just a few years ago, the oceanfront walk was a destination for millions of visitors each year. They came to see the street artist play the saxophone, to savor ice cream and listen to the sound of the waves. Now, right next to the souvenir shops are long rows of tents, scattered syringes, and people sleeping on public benches as if they have nothing left to dream about. The story of a 72-year-old veteran is a bitter slice of life. Having worked at the Port of Long Beach for over 30 years, he retired with a modest pension, but it was enough to live on. After 2 rent increases and an uninsured heart surgery, he moved from a small rented room to a makeshift tent set up behind a coastal bus stop. I never thought I would live like this. I used to build houses for others. Now I don't even have a roof over my head. Venice Beach is no longer the place where rebellious young people discover themselves. It has become a place where abandoned elderly people huddle together to survive. According to LASA's 2024 statistics, the number of homeless people in Venice has increased significantly in just 2 years. Of these, nearly a percentage are over 55 years old, a very large group. People who worked their entire lives hoping for a peaceful old age. Now their old age passes alongside the sounds of ambulances, the police's inspection flashlights, and the waves of the sea which are no longer gentle. Is there anywhere else in America that is truly safe for the dream of growing old in peace? Are we drifting towards a future where the sandy shore is no longer for those who seek rest, but only the last place to survive? There was a time when West Baltimore was the breadwinner for tens of thousands of working-class families. Train, steel, and even small factories once created a vibrant pace of life where each red brick house was a symbol of the rising middle class. But that was half a century ago. Now those roofs are empty. Not because people have moved out, but because no one wants to step inside anymore. West Baltimore today is no different from a war-torn ruin. Abandoned houses followed one another with broken windows, walls covered in graffiti, and streets where police cars only dared to speed through and disappear behind bulletproof glass. According to 2024 statistics, there are over 15,000 vacant homes in this area alone, serving as temporary shelters for the homeless and even the site of shady dealings that take place every day. In those seemingly forgotten rows of houses is the story of 68-year-old Lucille, who used to work as an accountant at a local cannery. When the factory closed in the late 90s, she used her savings to care for her husband, who had a stroke, and raise her 3 grandchildren. But as the cost of living skyrocketed and the surrounding area became dangerous, she was evicted from her old apartment because she couldn't keep up with the new rent prices. I have nowhere else to go. I used to pay taxes and do good work. And yet now, I'm just a name on a forgotten list. West Baltimore is not just a neighborhood. It is a symbol of a rift, not just in infrastructure, but also in the trust between the people and the system that promised to protect them. When all the streetlights have gone out and the cries for help have fallen silent, who will still be there to listen? There was a time when the South Side was the cultural heart of Chicago, a place where legendary jazz tunes echoed the hopeful footsteps of immigrants resounded and communities of color built their own world with their hands and resilience. But now, if you step into Englewood or Roseland, 2 areas right on the South Side, you won't hear any music. The only thing that still echoes is the sound of police sirens and sometimes the sound of collapse in broad daylight. The South Side, just over 20 minutes drive from downtown Chicago, carries with it chilling statistics, a crime rate over 300% higher than the national average, over 45% of children living in poverty, and nearly 1/5 of the city's homeless population concentrated in these areas. Every night, hundreds of people set up temporary shelters under bridges in empty lots or abandoned buildings, crammed together in the darkness, not just because they lack housing, but also because they have nowhere else safe to go. Gang is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind that was the gradual breakdown of the community, as after-school programs were cut, as library and public health budgets were drastically reduced, and as the police were left to play only the role of the latecomers. And while downtown Chicago still shines with upscale restaurants and bustling tourism, children on the South Side grow up with the sound of despair. South Side, it's not just a neighborhood. It's a stark reminder that when a nation stops investing in its communities, what will rise from the ruins, it's not just homelessness, but a depletion of faith. Atlanta, a rising city where skyscrapers are sprouting up like mushrooms, where technology conferences and major award ceremonies are held, and a new symbol of modern America. But just a few blocks from Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where exciting football games are broadcast nationwide, is a neighborhood that most Americans have never heard of. But those who have set foot there will never forget the Bluff. What will you see at the Bluff? The abandoned rows of houses are being eaten away by time. Deteriorated public housing, where children play among beer bottles and use syringes. Men, women, and even the elderly are setting up tents among the crumbling walls of what were once factories, shopping centers, or parking lots. Numbers don't lie. According to data from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, Atlanta has over 3,400 homeless individuals, with a significant portion concentrated in the area around the Bluff. Of these, nearly 30% are elderly, and almost half are people who previously had stable employment. The Bluff is not just a slum, it's the buffer zone between dreams and reality. A place where compassion must contend with pragmatism and indifference always seems to prevail. Police, volunteers, non-profit organizations, they all tried. But when you're up against a system that allows injustice to repeat for decades, individual effort becomes a drop in the ocean. Can a society truly be called prosperous when places like the Bluff still exist, where the future is traded for short-term profit? North St. Louis was once one of Missouri's most hopeful neighborhoods, with tree-lined streets, community churches, and families living side by side for generations. This was once the home of the American working class, particularly African Americans, who helped build the Midwest's industry. But today, if you walk along North Grand Boulevard or St. Louis Avenue, you won't believe you're still standing in an American city in 2025. A quarter of North St. Louis residents live below the poverty line, and nearly half of St. Louis's homeless population is concentrated around this northern area. At the foot of buildings that were once insurance offices, small banks or factories, you can see tattered sleeping bags, tin can, cooking pots, and makeshift tents, where the elderly, the unemployed, and even veterans live day to day. North St. Louis is like an open wound, uncared for, unbandaged, and gradually becoming a blind spot in the conscience of a modern society. Children growing up here have few options, besides learning how to survive and learning to believe in some kind of miracle that may never come. And when a neighborhood gradually falls apart like that, who will step up to piece together the fragments? Are we accepting the trade-off of an entire generation just to keep a few shiny downtown areas with good development indicators on paper, from the dazzling lights of Las Vegas to the stench of garbage in Skid Row, from the huddled figures in the cold Kensington night to the dazed eyes on the Venice beach? We've traveled through 10 regions, not just names on a map, but slices of a fractured America. And then you wonder, how can a nation that once conquered the moon not even take care of its own streets? Is it not only the homes of the poor that are crumbling, but also the very faith that generations have built? And if you believe there are still places in this country that retain their soul, don't hesitate to spread that. Subscribe to the channel to join us on our upcoming journeys, where we don't just tell stories, but rediscover values that are gradually being forgotten together with you. Because this video isn't meant to conclude, but to leave a moment of silence. For you, for me, and for everyone who has ever believed in an America not meant to be spent, but to be lived in. This video is built from public data sources, field observations, and accounts from real people who have lived, worked, or experienced life in the United States over the past several years. The purpose is not to judge, defame, or assign blame to any individual business or organization. We do not represent any party and do not promote extreme panic outrage or negative behavior. All content in this video is intended only to open a multifaceted dialogue where viewers, especially those who once believed in a fair and kind America, can reflect, empathize, and contribute their voices to a better future.